Excellent. I'm going to the back corner now.
Some students find being told to pee in a pot quite daunting, perhaps a bit degrading. What kind of style would you adopt for pushing forward a campaign of that type? And can you suggest a strapline that you might use that's perhaps a bit less terrifying than being told to pee in a pot?
Quick strapline ideas. I don't know in terms of strapline. I think one of the things you have to trust is that when these campaigns are started at a uni-wide level, we do trust like each college's welfare officers with their own like college, and people know their own college well. So for example, when we were doing that in Trev's, you know, I know perhaps how to approach different types of people, and there's an element of trust with the welfare officers there. So you're going to have to trust the welfare officers that perhaps, I know we can't stereotype, but perhaps those who we feel might not benefit from us banging on their doors and being like, let's all piss in a pot, that you have to trust them that they won't go and do that. They hopefully tend to be sensitive people, they've been well trained. In terms of a strap line, I don't know, because I feel that in a way the strap line is perhaps something that, you know, for people who might be a bit more outgoing and not be daunted by it, a strap line is a good thing. I don't know if actually a strap line is the right thing for people who might be a little less sure of doing that. I feel perhaps talking to them and not putting some cheesy slogan on it would be a better approach.
I think it's quite a nationwide thing that this kind of sexual health campaign is quite graphic, if you like. If you look at any kind of NHS, I can say NUS then, NHS advert about sexual health, I mean, it's kind of, some of them can be quite steamy, you know, like really that's the direction we're taking, and it's to try and get that hard-hitting response. And I think with the pee in the pot, you know, that hitting it, pee in the pot it works well as a catchphrase, I won't deny that, but the greatest thing about some of the work Nikki's done this year is that there's now a new sexual health working group, and that's led by Karen Hatfield actually, and what they aim to do is promote sexual health all year round and not just chlamydia testing, and that it's a great thing for that to kind of be taken away from welfare officers per se, but it's a good thing for it to be disassociated because it is a completely separate aspect of health drives, if you like, and they're going to expand their offerings of up to different sexual health issues as well. And also it's promoting the use of like the university health centres now actually offering some extended sexual health clinics, if you like, that I wasn't aware about only until a few months ago. So I think it's really taking away the idea of this national or all across Durham month of pee in a pot, and people get so stir crazy full of pee in the pot in their faces all the time that it's going to last a whole year round, and I think that would really take away maybe that pressure that you're kind of referring to.
I do agree with both the views that have been given, but I think yes, it is really quite good that the welfare officers of each college do it, because obviously, yes, as Jake said, they know their colleges really well. What we did at Grade, sort of to push it, was to basically get the different sports teams to pee in the pots, to try and get as many pots filled by their respective teams. I think that, yes, the danger is that it might be too in people's faces, and that is something you really, really want to avoid. And so hopefully by doing it via the welfare officers, you're doing it via someone that is approachable and well known in that college. And giving it, doing it via the sports teams did add a sort of element of competition, so that people, if they wanted to, could actually become quite competitive and would actually just, be in the pot, I suppose. A strapline that was suggested for the rowing club was we've had our cocks tested, which is quite apt. But no, I mean, obviously, I think to try and be as not in your face as possible, definitely.
Cool. There's lots of questions. I warn you now, we've got 5 minutes left for questions, so I'm going to get through them all, I'm afraid. But I am going to go to Unity Gray.
Yeah. I'm just kind of wondering what you guys think are the negative aspects of the role, if any, and then how you would deal with them using the expertise that you have.
Can you start, please, with Gemma and go to me?
The negative aspects of the role of eBay. I think that it's a very broad role. You're linking two massive things: education and welfare. Obviously, it's university, so education speaks for itself, really. And and then again, welfare has just gone from strength to strength, and it entails a huge amount of work. And it wasn't the cards to suggest a sort of splitting of the role, and obviously that would rely on funding really from the DSU, obviously. I think that obviously the role will demand a huge amount of work and a huge amount of organisation, and so yes, hopefully sort of trying to push towards splitting of the role at some point if the funds are there for it.
I think pretty much the worst aspect of the role I can think of off the top of my head would be Senate disciplinary, which is something that nobody would ever enjoy sitting on, and EWA sits on it in a kind of basically judging plagiarism cases, which are, I think, more frequent than any of us can imagine. So that's probably the most specific negative side of the role. Also, I think it's such a demanding, as Gemma quite rightly says, it's got such a vast amount of different areas that sit under EWA's job description. So I think one of the major negative aspects of it would be sitting and spending so much time on these 20 committees that EWA sits on, which is going to take a huge amount of time. So I think pretty much the most negative and probably hardest part of the job is making sure that you follow through with the types of things that we all want to take into it today, because that's going to be the time constraints. I think it's probably the worst side of things.
Yeah, I think probably not necessarily the worst and hardest kind of aspect, I think, is that you're someone who is there to represent student views on some quite sensitive issues, both education and welfare. They're kind of about what people they're here and doing at university, and I think that one of the hardest things is when you're stressed and when you're overworked, and like we're hearing about lots of committees, etc. When you're stretched, that's when it's your hardest to be approachable. That's when most of us tend to find it hardest to have patience with people, and I think that the hardest and worst thing about EWA is having to still be approachable both to your to the people who are, for example, your student reps or your college welfare officers, and also being approachable to the wider student body when you go out to try and meet them.
Cool. Nikki, I'll for the last question.